Aloha family, today's episode is brought to you by 5 and 7 Tactical Solutions. They are the premier team for tactical services and training. For those of you that are, you're passionate about protecting yourself, your loved ones, maybe your home, maybe your dog, or maybe your squirrel, well, learn from the professionals. They have gun courses, everything from pistol training to long guns. For those of you that want to learn on concealed carry combative courses, they have that as well. If you're a security guard, if you are in Hawaii and Arizona, they have the license courses available for you as well. For those of you that are not comfortable carrying a firearm, they do have self-defense from Women's Defense Tactics, electric gun taser training. They also have active shooter response courses as well for schools, businesses. And if you are a VIP, they do have executive protection services as well. 5 and 7 Tactical Solutions LLC.com. Be sure to mention GLO808 and they will give you $25 off of any services or package. Mahalo for your. Today's episode is brought to you by Archon Mounts. For those of you that are content creators and you want the best mounting solutions for your cell phones, your DSLR cameras, well, go to archon.com. Be sure to use my promo code Hawaii and you'll get 20% off the entire order. Also, all of their products come with a lifetime guarantee. So head on over to archon.com, keeping your devices within reach.
To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it, the odds can stack back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand firm.
So family, good morning. Good morning for us. We slept in a little bit this morning. Man, thank you to all of my or all of our listeners, our viewers. I haven't quite decided if we're going to make this audio available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts just yet. I'm going to go through. I haven't had time. We do this every day. So if you're brand new, my name is Brother Greg, aka The Real Gila. We're just blessed to be able to do life with you. My wife and I, she'll jump on in just a second. I want to give her time to kind of gather her thoughts. And we have a that commercial Mucinex. They have that monster that hides under the bed. Well, we have one of those jolly green giant guys. He's been bothering us, and so what was I saying before I got distracted with that? We just want to thank you for being here. And if you're new, we are live. We are live, not just here on X. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble. YouTube, yeah. And so we want to thank you guys, and I want to thank the YouTube people. They've been very, very Joe, I think it was Joe. I had some old school people from 2015, 2016, and I appreciate you guys. And also I've seen some people from my old school Periscope days on X the other day, so thank you. I think it was Brother Joe. I'm brain farting right now. We slept in this morning. We stayed up pretty late. And so once again, if you're brand new, we do these every day from 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. I think it's 7 a.m. now in Hawaii. So Hawaii is 2 hours back now versus 3. And so we just want to really express our gratitude and how blessed we are to do this and just share life with you guys. So we're going to get started in just a minute. Today is going to be very free-flowing. If you didn't like, share, and subscribe, please do so on whatever platform you're on. Kick, I want to acknowledge my Kick family. Thank you. I have an extremely small following on Kick. And Rumble is very interesting as well. I love Rumble's platform. So thank you to the team at Rumble and Kick for giving us a good platform. So I think that's all the intros I want to do. Get my fancy graphics back up. But man, I hope you guys are having a blessed morning, afternoon. I know East Coast, it's already lunchtime. For my people in Hawaii, it's still morning. I think California, it's what time is it? Like 9:10, 9:20. So I'll lead off with this. This is a scripture that we've shared quite often. It says that for if my people who are called by my name, I love that part, who are called by my name, shall humble themselves, pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven. I will hear from heaven, and I will heal their land. and forgive their sins. And there's a whole probably specific order how, but I just felt led in that order how I read it. And I think it's 2 Chronicles 7:14 where it says that if we as a nation will, number one, humble ourselves, we pray and seek his face, turn from our wicked ways. And then the scripture says, I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land. And so I know there's a lot of healing. But I think I was sharing yesterday, no matter who gets in, we still got to go to work. And so I hope that you are in a good place today. And if you're not, I'll just remind everybody that Donald Trump is not the Messiah. Last time I checked, he's not the Messiah. I think he's got a good team. I was surprised last night to see his son. His son is so tall. His son, I think he's like 6'8" or something.
6'6", he said.
Oh, 6'6". He looks taller than 6'6".
On the Joe Rogan show, he said he's 6'6".
Wow, that's great. He looks a lot taller than, because Donald Trump is at least 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, well, they were talking about the Lincoln bed, the Lincoln room. And then
Lincoln was shorter than his son, right?
I think Lincoln was tall too. So they were showing the bed, they were showing the room, and then they showed the bed, and he said something about Barron being 6'6".
Interesting.
I sent you a direct message
on Twitter.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
How come I cannot see your broadcast?
You probably got to click on it. Don't worry. I already reposted from your account.
How did you do that?
Secret.
Hey.
That's what happens when we have so many phones. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 cell phones, just between me and my wife. We had 6 as of yesterday, but 5 today. So Verizon. I know we're gonna go sideways a little. So Verizon. So back in 2021, I bought a Samsung Galaxy S21. This is a crazy how they make these cell phones, but so Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, or no, it was S21 5G Ultra. That was the name of the phone, and I was like, wow, I want that phone. I've always been an Android guy, and then I used to have iPhone. And so one time when I was doing a lot of and I used to live stream daily, I actually got sponsored by it was a local T-Mobile company back in Hawaii, and so he was able to get me a iPhone, which is so crazy. I was just thinking about it today. It was a separate line. I think that's great, and I'm still getting phone calls to this day. Was it today? No. I can't remember how. So I still have that old phone number stored on my one of my contact lists. And it's crazy, honey. It's 808. Okay, I won't say the number, but the numbers. That person who has that phone number, I remember there's a couple of times. I can't remember how I got a hold of this person, but he's like, yeah, people keep asking for you. And I'm like, I don't even have that phone anymore. He's, yeah, I know you don't, because it's my phone number. So, but anyways, I was through T-Mobile, and that was really cool. I just think about it now. Like, I had a sponsorship through T-Mobile to have, and they had an iPhone. Because at the time I couldn't afford to have an iPhone and an Android and 2 different. Because I was always Verizon. What am I talking about? Oh, so anyways, yeah, I bought a Samsung Galaxy S21 5G Ultra in 21, and decided to just buy it outright because they didn't want to have the whole payment plan, because they get you, right. They get you. Oh wow, it's only $22 a month or whatever, and then when you get your phone bill is like $50 more, because you got to get the insurance, you got to pay the taxes, and blah blah blah. So anyways, it's been 3 years since I've had that phone. And I paid $1,200. It was 12. I remember how much it was. $1,299 for that phone. Verizon gave me $1,000 for that phone as a trade-in to get so I got the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, which is a great phone, which very long time. I held out for kind of a long time. Well, I didn't really hold out that long because I've been using have an iPhone too, so which technically is on borrowed time, I guess you could say. What was I talking about? I'm giving my wife time. She's talking, but she's writing some notes. But for those of you that are in the United States, I'm curious, has anything changed for you today? Did you wake up with a different sense of purpose today? Like, did you did you wake up kind of like the Truman Show? Did you go up and go, oh, it's gonna be a beautiful day?
Relief. You got those who are relieved, and then you got those who are afraid that he's gonna do all these things because all the fear mongering and pride, right? Because they don't want to, number one, admit defeat. Number two, the fear mongering, and then number three is they're so bitter and so angry that they cannot see the things that he has done already and the things that he's going to do. So really there's a lot to get done in a short period of time. I wanted to say that, but because it's going to lead into my scripture. But
I don't wish ill will on anybody, but I will say, no matter who got elected last night, yeah, it would kind of suck, but we know, number one, we know who God is, right? Who He is in our life, right? So for us, it's, we trust that His purpose is going to follow through. Leanne Casey, good to see you. Is it Leanne Casey? Thank you for joining us.
I sent you a DM.
Oh, am I supposed to click on it? I've totally that's sidetracked. I opened my phone. I didn't even check on it. I don't want to mess up
through it's not Instagram, but
on Twitter.
Yeah, on Twitter. It's the Barack Obama tweet.
Oh, okay. You want me to share that? Why to buy you time? Okay, I'll share that. But yeah, did you guys wake up any different? Did you guys wake up feeling a sense of relief? Did you wake up with anxiety, fear? I don't want to say depression. I think it's too quick to get depression from last night. But for me, I quite honestly, I didn't feel anything like crazy monumental. I did have a sense of relief, but it was special for my kids. My kids were having fun last night. A lot of people, especially on Twitter, people automatically assume that Twitter is all about politics, and that's all it is. Which, if that's your circle of algorithm, I'll put that. If that's your algorithm circle, of course you're going to see that.
That's the people you hang out with.
Yeah. Leanne, is it Leanne or Lee? Lay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. I want to say Leanne, but she said definitely relief. But you Powell.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay, let me get your camera. You ready for camera?
Yeah, I think so. Not sure. But...
Okay. No contraband in the background. I'm kidding, honey. Yesterday I had contraband. I didn't realize this yesterday. I had contraband in the camera and it had a toilet paper roll, and you could see it like right next to my book. I'm like, oh my gosh, Gregory, so professional. Okay. Let's get your camera on. That way I can clear my sinuses and we can. All right. So for those of you that don't know who's talking, I want to introduce you to my wife. This is my wife, Emily. She is the love of my life. We've been together for 25 years. We have been married for 20, and we are just getting started. And it's crazy. I can say that now. Yeah. But anyways, here is my wife, Emily. And I'm glad that she's willing to do these with me. We do these every day, Monday through Friday. My podcasts are different. And so this is something we just do daily, just to break bread with you, to say hello and kind of touch bases with you guys, see how you're doing. and also share everything with a kingdom perspective, or some will say Christian perspective. Here we go. There you go, honey. Yes, you are live. You're live.
My phone is lagging.
That's fine.
Turn my mic up a bit.
So let me look at that DM if you want to share what you wanted to share.
Yeah, so what are we gonna do now? We're going to rejoice, number one. Number two, we still need to be prayerful and diligent, right? It's not that relief. We've prayed all the way up until this point, for those who are believers. And even those who are not believers who voted for Donald Trump, right? No, now it's a relief, right? But what do we do now, right? We don't stop praying, we don't stop believing, we don't stop, doing what we're supposed to do. We don't let our guard down now, right? So, of course, this morning I opened up my Twitter, and then I was like, oh my goodness, here we go again, right? Because I already knew from just the language. If you listen to the language that they were speaking last night, like they really didn't want to call Donald Trump the president-elect, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said, what did they say? It was these words that they used. Like
there was a lot on ABC where they said, and if he does win.
So you can tell just by the language alone, like they're planning on cheating. Okay, and then Barack Obama comes out with this tweet, and it's like open season. Like, okay, you guys are still, I don't want to call people stupid, or if that's what they think, but just deceitful.
I'm gonna pull it up on screen.
That they think that you can get one over on people, right? Well, let's not call it. Let's not call it. And I don't know where they got that from, right? Because when Donald Trump won over Hillary Clinton, they called it, right?
Yeah,
immediately. And then they called Joe Biden immediately. Now, all of a sudden, it's not going to be immediate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because Donald Trump is a liar. It's not because he's a fascist. It's not because he's some Nazi regimist. If you grew up in our generation, you know about what happened in what was it, World War II, Germany, Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
To relate him to Hitler is crazy.
Okay, can I read this tweet, the one you sent to me?
Yeah.
So I know it might be small on your screen if you're on a mobile device, but here's what Barack Obama, he pinned it as well. Wow, he pinned it. November 5th. It took several days to count every ballot in 2020, and it's very likely we won't know the outcome tonight either. So please keep a few things in mind as you make your voice heard today. Number one, thousands of election workers around the country are working hard today. Respect them and thank them. Number two, don't share things before checking your sources. Period. Number three, let the process run its course. It takes time to count every ballot.
See, and this is not how it will always was, right? If you had a mail-in ballot, it had to be turned in by a certain time, right? I think it's like a week or so before the election, and they shut it down. So how can you say that, we got ballots still trickling in? No, it's not true, right? But it kind of gives them time. Like I said this last night. Yeah, just give us time to figure out how we're going to cheat.
And these are our opinions, family. Okay, this is not. Don't fact check us and do community notes on this live. So here's the crazy thing. So on Twitter, they have a great, and I've submitted a few community notes. I'm not good at it because you have to research a lot. Well, you should. You don't have to. But anyways, community notes. So when someone puts out a post on Twitter, on X, I don't want to say X, but as as a people, we can all look at that and say, hey, that's not right. That's not true. So you can submit what we call a community note. You research, you give, you cite sources, and you share everything, then you submit it. Now that community notes will not be addressed or used until enough people look at it, research it themselves, and give an opinion based on what you cited. And then that gets used against the article or the post. And it's nice because that means everybody gets to participate in fact checking. We don't have to sit here and listen to mainstream media, or even you don't even have to listen to Elon Musk. I think he probably has the most community notes submitted for him.
But I think because of technology now, right, and social media, it's harder for them to lie and it's harder for them to cheat, right? And then you see all these articles coming out, like in Oregon, ballot boxes were burning. There's several
That's
different
right.
places where ballot boxes were burning here in Oregon. And
I think there's 3. They found 3 that were on fire.
And I think, was it Project Veritas? Found well,
they were sitting in the parking lots last night, and they were filming people bringing in ballot boxes. And I think I don't want to say Michigan. It's one of those states that was a swing state that they were just filming.
Well, and then you got Hawaii. I know they
let's hold on to Hawaii. Let's hold off on Hawaii.
Hold on. Well, the same thing with Hawaii. You had people videotaping the what do you call it? The ballot box thingy that they had, where they felt there was no security. Same thing with the other ballot boxes, right? The mail-in boxes. And then you had the one that they went to court because they found a bunch of ballots that didn't have name. I guess like they were dropped off, if I remember correctly. They were dropped off. They didn't have all the information on it. Just I guess trying to cheat because it's so polarizing, this whole political scape. Like, why can't we just not be so polarized by this stuff? And I just wish, and I wish this was true across the board, that instead of attacking each other, that they would basically talk about their not politics, but their policies, right? And what they bring to the table versus this was the most polarizing election that I've ever seen in my entire life, right? My dad was a Democrat, and we would always watch. I used to hate it. I was always bored. I was like, can we just watch cartoons?
No, your dad was a union worker, right?
Yeah.
So that's why so for context for people that don't know, her dad was a welder. He was Army welder. And so in Hawaii, if you work for any type of union job, you're already Democrat.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
That's just part of you have to
you have to vote Democrat because
that's part of your agreement. Yeah. It's kind of illegal, really, but
corruption.
Yeah. Leanne said she worked as a judge of elections in Pennsylvania. I was trying to figure out, and like I said, I'm not a political science major, but so they called Hawaii at 6 p.m. Hawaii time.
7:30, I think.
7:30. So 7:30 p.m. Hawaii time. They called Hawaii as for Kamala Harris.
And that's the crazy thing. So I'm going through my stuff because I'm like, okay, well, let me see where Hawaii is at, right? And then I start seeing all these videos come out, and at 8:30, people are still in line because they claim in 2020, because everybody was voting mail-in ballots, that there was less election polling places here. Now, if you remember 2020. Everything was shut down, right? And they wanted people to vote mail-in ballot. So now you can turn around and you can say, oh, well, in 2020, everybody voted mail-in. which is not true. So then I got some more videos of um there was no um like integrity as far as who's coming to look as they come and pick up all these ballots, right, from those official mail whatever boxes. And sorry, I found this videos of people videotaping that, like, how can we secure our mail-in ballots when, so anybody can just come over there and pick it up or just drop it off, or you know there's that. And then there's videos of, because there wasn't that much places where you could pull to vote, it was a long process. So even at 8:30, there were like 3,000 people still in line yet to vote in different places and on different islands as well. And and people were just mad at the fact that how dare you call Hawaii and we're still voting at 7:30. So I was reading through some of the comments, and one man said, "Hey, me and my wife, we were standing in line at like 11:28 or something, him and his wife. And that was in the morning. They never get out till like 4:40 because that's how long the lines were. And people, really wanted to vote. Like, it didn't matter who they voted for, but they felt like this was a big election that, they needed to get out and vote. I know some people, they're saying there are ambulances in Kapolei. If you know where Kapolei is, it's hot. I mean, really hot. So several people got taken out by an ambulance. Sorry. What the heck? Several people got taken out by ambulance because, it's just really hot.
So here's the photo. I don't want to get too far from the photo and what you're saying. So when they called Hawaii, this is what I posted, and this is just funny. And I get it, Hawaii. I don't know if Hawaii has ever been a red state in terms of presidential elections. I can't remember because I didn't really look it up. But
only when Reagan. I mean, Reagan was the last time. That was in like 84, 85.
Or he was president 80 and 84. So that was the two elections.
Okay, so in 84, that was the last time Hawaii turned red.
So this is when they called it. I figured, I'm going to look it up. They already called, this is the AP, they called it, Hawaii's only 4 electoral votes, but it's still, that can sway the what do you call it, opinion, right? If you already, let's say she was 4 points away, and which Hawaii has never been a deciding state, but let's just pretend that some magical way that Hawaii was the last state. You think they would call it right? No, they would actually wait till all the votes are counted, or at least 51% before they would actually call it. As soon as she gets over 50%, then they can call it.
Which really upsets me about Hawaii, because the same thing, even with Mazie Hirono, right? They called her even before the polls even closed.
Well, but look at the photo. There's not even any.
Yeah.
No, it literally says 0%. Were counted, which is funny. I found that funny. It didn't really bother me in any way. It's just like, you know what? That's just and that's, that the sad thing is for Hawaii, that's just how it's always been, in the sense of, because Hawaii is not,
well, that's just corruption.
Well, okay,
and that's why I get upset about those things. It's because, it's because of the corruption.
It's not in our nature, generation as Hawaiians, to be competitive in a Western culture,
and that's what we need to change.
And so for when something like this happens, it's like, it'll pass. That's kind of like the mindset, I think, when it comes to a lot of these things in Hawaii. Like, and so, but anyways, I just to go back to what you're saying with Hawaii, that's what it was when they called it. It was literally on the website, it was less than 1%, but they didn't even tally them yet. So. For whatever reason, I don't know. I'm not a election official. I'm not a smart election guy. I don't know why they take a long time to, especially, and and now I get, so with Pennsylvania, going back to Pennsylvania, Hawaii, I cited that last night. I said, how is it that Hawaii is called before Pennsylvania? Hawaii is 5 hours back, but then I totally get it, because Pennsylvania is 19 electoral votes. That's why it was so important for them to take the time on Pennsylvania.
But one of the states only had one vote. It's something that starts with an N. Not something, a state that starts with an N.
It's what is
It's
our
morning.
somebody help me out? Is it Nebraska? What other states begin with? Let's ask the Google. Let's ask Siri. Let's talk to the Siri. Hey Siri, how many states begin with the letter N? There's 8 states. What the heck, honey?
New Jersey.
Oh yeah, New Jersey. Okay,
New York.
New Jersey, New Mexico,
New Mexico.
New York. Oh, yeah, we said New York.
Nebraska. New Orleans is not even a state.
The New Orleans might want to tell you they're a state. God, in New Orleans.
So ask Google which state has one electoral vote.
Oh, okay. With the letter N.
Yeah.
I don't know if Siri is smart enough to figure that. Guys, let me tell you something. We have Google and Siri, right? And speaking of corruption lately, Leanne. So Leanne said corruption is rampant, unfortunately.
It is.
Let me tell you about corruption. We have corruption on Google is woke. So I have Google Gemini, and then I have Siri. Siri literally harassed me last week. I'm not even kidding. You guys don't believe me, but check this out. I have my alarm set. And so when I do alarms, I'll do, for example, I'll do, I won't say it now, but I'll address Siri and I'll say set alarm for this, set alarm for 7:01, 7:02. So I'll do probably 5 alarms, right? So my alarms kept going off, and I'm like, you know what? Just shut it off. And so it goes off, and literally 1 minute later, it goes off again, and I'm yelling from my bed because my phone is like probably 10 feet away, and I'm yelling, turn off all my alarms. Okay. So my Google goes, my Siri goes, okay. Watch here, I'll prove it to you. Hey Siri. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, it's not, see what I'm saying? So Siri sometimes just doesn't perform.
Siri's like a cat.
Yeah, Siri's like a cat. That's right. So anyways, going back to, I don't know how we got so sideways on why oh, you want me to look up the state?
With one electoral vote.
Hey Siri. Which state that begins with the letter N has one electoral vote? It doesn't know. I have to go look it up. It's going to make a list. Okay.
You know what?
Oh, here you go. I can look at it right now. I got to take off my glasses.
That's why I had my
take off my glasses.
My camera. That's why I had my computer open over here.
I think I'm going to move your mic because that drives me crazy. Should we raise it up or away? Oh, no. I'll do. Let me do it.
Raise it up.
Don't you know you got to go up? Okay.
Because it's in the way of my arm.
And by the way, while we're just hanging out, thank you to all of my YouTube, Twitch, Kick and Rumble people. YouTube, Twitch, Kick and Rumble. Yeah. Thank you to my YouTube, Twitch, Kick and Rumble family. We appreciate you guys. And I appreciate Rumble because Rumble gives me viewership. And I got paid on Rumble. I love it. I won't tell you how much money because, I don't want to disclose all my wealth on Rumble. I'm kidding. We're talking about pennies. But hey, it's more money than I made the day before. So anyways, thank you to my YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble family. We appreciate you guys. And if you don't know and you haven't done so already, you can always like, post, reshare, all that fancy stuff. Did it pop up? I didn't. I have Lee. Let me pop up.
North Dakota.
Did you find it?
I'm looking right now. It's showing me all those who have electoral votes.
Here we go. This is my fancy animation. You can like, share, and subscribe. Okay.
Alaska has 3.
It's amazing Alaska only has 3. I'm trying to figure out how do they allocate the number. I'll look it up.
Nebraska has 5. Maybe I'm blind.
Hey, Google. 100% volume. Hey Google, how does the Electoral College determine the number of votes per state?
And do
On
they
the
get
website archives.gov, they say electoral votes are allocated among the states based on the census. Every state is allocated a number of votes equal to the number of senators and representatives in its U.S. congressional delegation, 2 votes for its senators in the U.S. Senate plus a number of votes equal to the number of its congressional districts.
so does that mean like some goes to Trump and then some goes to Kamala?
No. They have to win the state,
Oh.
and they get all.
Well, I don't know. I swear that's what I saw on the TV. But you know, my eyes have been kind of kooky lately too.
Leon,
I mix up numbers and letters. So
Leon asked a question. So
oh,
she said, New Hampshire? Was it New Hampshire?
is it New Hampshire? It said New Hampshire has 4 votes
Oh,
here.
4.
I don't see anyone with 1, but I swear last night on the TV it said 1.
I think they break. See, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a.
Do they break it down? So that's what my question was.
So within the state, they wait for the counties to come in, and so maybe each county accounts for a certain amount of, and then when they're done, that's what I'm thinking. But I don't know.
Okay.
That's why it's complicated, and it.
And when did these electoral voting things come in? Was it always like that?
You're talking about so we gotta use the right language. So the Electoral College.
Yeah.
Right?
So because there's a popular vote and then there's the electoral, right? And that's how Trump won the.
All elections are decided through Electoral College. Period.
Right. So he didn't win the popular vote when it came to
2016.
Yeah, between him and Hillary Clinton, but he did win the electoral vote
because he won the right states.
So my question is, when did it become so complicated that we got popular and then we got electoral?
So the Electoral College is not perfect. Let me mute you before you start touching that. So the Electoral College is not perfect, but I do think it's fair. I do think it's fair because perfect example. California has, I think, the highest population of all the states. If we only base it on popular votes, California would win every time. Right? They would just send everybody to California. They would open up that border and just bring people in. Right? And that's not fair for Hawaii, who says, hey, I have a voice too. Right? Or small, little, tiny states. Or for example, Hawaii's population is bigger. I think.
So my question is, when did they start doing?
Let's ask Google. It was before we were born. Hey, Google, when was the Electoral College created?
On the website givinfo.gov, they say the Electoral College was conceived of and adopted at the 1787 Constitutional Convention.
Oh, it was.
But in the deliberations leading up to its adoption, the delegates debated several different options for selecting the President of the United States.
Wait, 17 what?
Basically, when our country was born.
When this country was born.
Yeah, like within a year or 2 years.
1757.
No.
Or 1770 something.
78.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I heard that. So our country was founded in 1776. So literally within the first 2 years.
Okay.
So it makes sense. Like,
well, that's not something that. Well, yeah, I guess.
So I was right. It was before we were born. So
that was before. That was when Hawaii was a kingdom still.
Yeah. I do agree with it. I don't understand. The thing is, I don't think people even understand it to its entirety because they still debate about it to this day.
Well, I think even in the way that they created the Constitution, right? And then I think in the way that they've created this, I just never understand. So complicated. But when I just heard Google say whatever she said. I guess it's to provide a balance. That's what I believe to eliminate some form of corruption. But yeah,
the thing is, and part of the reason why I think it's not perfect, it's not just that the system. I don't think the system is bad. I think it's the way that, and we don't talk about this enough. In government, in politics, in our nation, we don't talk about this enough. But there is a clear and evil intent, right? From a Christian perspective, there is evil out there. And so if you have a system that's in place, and it does take a little bit of smarts, and it can be manipulated, right? So a perfect example, I'm not conspiracy theory or anything, but those people, was it Ohio where they sent the Haitians? I can't remember what state. Let me look it up.
Was it Ohio? Was it Minnesota?
No. It wasn't
Michigan.
It was a no. It was a warmer state or Midwest.
Missouri.
No. What state did they send the Haitians to? Ohio. It was Ohio.
It was Ohio.
So here's, and I'm not saying that's what they did, but it seems like if I was from Haiti. So my wife and I, for those that don't know, my wife and I were born and raised on an island, tropical weather, that type of food, fresh fish every day if you want it. People that are from Haiti, same thing. They're obviously a lot bigger. Springfield, Ohio. Thank you. Thank you to Leanne sharing the location. So I'm thinking, why are there Haitians in Springfield, Ohio? Like, of all places, like,
you would think, if they were to go anywhere in the United States, it would be near water.
Yeah. That's why when I see people in Oregon that are not near the water, I always ask them, bro, what are you doing here? Like, what the heck? And I make light of it, but like, if I see a black person in our town, immediately I look at him, and then I think twice I've been able to do this. And I can do this, I feel, because I have no racial intent behind it. But I'll look at the guy and I'm like, and I'll smile. I'm like, and once we get talking, I'm like, this is how I would have my conversation. I'd be like, oh, brother, bro, what are you doing here? I'm laughing, bro. What are you doing here? Like, you're the only black guy I've seen like in forever. And then the question I always get back will be like, well, what are you doing here? Because I'm not white either, right? And so my whole point being, if I'm from Haiti or Hawaii, you would think that you would move to a place where you're at least close to the ocean or to the water, so your way of life is not crazy removed from your family or to your lifestyle.
Because this is hard, being not, first of all, not being near water, and second of all, your culture is completely shifted.
Yeah,
where it's it is a culture shock, and then you crave fish, you crave foods that you normally would get. Like, where do I go to get them?
Now, people can move wherever they want to. That's not what I'm saying, but it just doesn't make sense that there's that many people in a short period of time. Like,
well, if their intent was to, like, I'm not against people moving or whatever, but our intent wasn't to move here, right? We came here because of an emergency. Now, I get people intentionally move places so that in their mind, they already understand, what they're moving into, or thinking what they're moving into. These people that came from Haiti, I'm pretty sure they're like, what in the world? Like, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for freedom, but not like this.
Well, just from the videos that it's not hard to find. You'll find several documentary type style YouTube videos, but you don't see any mainstream media going out there to cover it. Now, I don't think I've ever seen. Now, you see a lot of independent journalists go out there, and the common thing that I've seen is that they're very reserved when they're on camera.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're very careful on what to say.
And I think part of that too is, one, there's a language barrier, and two, yes, they want to get away. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to get away from where they're from. Because of
Haiti's a terrible country. Like,
well, maybe because of what they're coming from.
That's what Trump called poo-poo country. I think that's one of the countries he called them a poo-poo country, where he got in trouble for saying that. But he's not wrong in the sense of the living conditions, because Auntie Alicia's friend Kim her mom was a missionary there for 30 years.
That's crazy.
And in 30 years, they still haven't changed
Where there's a lot of
witchcraft,
voodoo and
voodoo
all that
witchcraft.
stuff that goes on in Haiti.
And it's rampant, and
Yeah.
that's just part of their culture generationally. So
Until they start changing those things, right? They gotta want to, just like America, we gotta start changing some things. Like, if we really believe that Trump is the guy, then it's not like how I was saying earlier. Oh, it's such a relief. It's a relief. But what are we doing as believers, right? If we're going to get into this as believers, what are we doing? I've seen posts, and I see it more now. And I actually seen a post earlier. They talk about this, 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Yeah.
Which says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways,
I will hear from heaven.
then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. Well, we quote that all the time, but then at the same time, you're not going further down in the verses. So if you look at verse 17, it says, as for you, if you walk before me as David did, your father, and do all that I command and observe my decrees and laws, I will establish your royal throne as I covenanted with David, your father, when I said, you shall never fail to have a man to rule over Israel. So, it's not just praying this president in and going, okay. It's doing your due diligence, doing your...
My mic is off. Shoot, I was going to throw my own wife. What would you do?
Do your due diligence and, okay, Lord, what do you want happening now? How should we vote? Like that one day that we were talking, and we wasn't just talking about like vote your values, but also what are we doing to help our community, to help our state, at the Senate level, at the congressional level, at the district level, at the community level. What are we doing in these places, right? If you go back to yesterday where we talked about Daniel, right, being in Babylon, they were basically in captivity, but God allowed them to thrive. Now, he wasn't put in the position of the highest position, right? But he was put in positions, him and his other 3 friends, they were put in different positions, more at like a community level.
Well, I will say this. If we are walking in the calling where God has positioned us, there are some people that are built and are able to walk into a calling. Like, let's say for Trump, for example, and there are some where we are most effective at a certain position. So
Yep.
it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be at the bottom or in the middle, but God puts us in places where we are the most effective to advance his purposes, his kingdom. And I think with Daniel, for example, he probably, outside of the kingdom connection with the Lord, I think Daniel had a very powerful position in the entire kingdom of that time, just because of where he was situated in government, the education that they all had, all 4 of them, right? And their ability to influence the king with that authority. Because remember, you shared this yesterday where the king said, hey, tell me my dream. I'm not going to tell you what it is. First of all, tell me what it is, and then interpret. None of them could do it. Here comes Daniel and his team. Here they are. They can tell exactly what it is. And so I know God's going to use us in the most effective place and not necessarily a top position. Right?
So that's why I was talking about believers, like position yourself in where God wants you to effect the most, to be effective and bring about the most change. So if you look at Trump bought up one of his people, and I don't know what position she sat in. I can't remember her name, but he brought her up to speak. So he brought several people up to speak, but he brought her up. I'm not sure if she was his campaign manager, or I don't know if she set up appointments or whatever, but she led a team, and she didn't want to speak, but the bald-headed guy spoke on her behalf, and she just she didn't want to speak. She didn't want to be in the front, right? But she did take upon a leadership role, right? And as believers, we have to be okay with not being in the front and not being the "oh, look at me" kind of a thing. But
Susie Wiles.
but just being okay where you're at to do the will of God, in the land, because it's not just, we live in a society where everything is about you, and social media has done that. Like, look at me and look at where I've come, and all these different things, right? So if you went to school and you was the bully, now people who weren't the bully and those who were bullied, now they got a voice, right? And unless you were healed from those things, right, then you become cynical and you become keyboard warriors behind the scenes, because now I can say stuff without somebody wanting to punch my face, or getting into fights or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to say whatever you want, right? And so we're in this position now where everybody has free reign of everything, and then there's no filters on anything, and people don't know how to filter themselves, right?
So I looked up Wiles. She's how shall I put it? She's great at managing campaigns. She's got it down to a science. She obviously Ron DeSantis. She was his top. Basically, she managed for him, and she helped Trump get his first election in 2016. So she's a hired gun, and everybody acknowledged her yesterday. Like, and she's like, no, I don't want to. If you watch the public address, she's like, she's like, no, I don't want it. No.
Yeah, he brought her up to the mic, and she said, no.
No.
And so she brought up the other guy to speak on their behalf.
Savita, I think his name is. Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, we don't. I would say we don't have the right, even as believers, we don't have the right to say whatever we want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, like, there's so many things that I want to say. So many things that I want to say, but I'm like, no, I don't think I should say that. And not because it's politically correct, but your flesh sometimes just wants to do whatever it wants. But that's where self-control comes in, and like so even as for believers, we got to make sure that we're not praying this prayer and yet sit down and do nothing, right? It says, as if we continue to walk before the Lord, then God would continue to allow us to put people in place that should be. Mm-hmm. Now, the staggering numbers, which is sad, of believers not voting and not thinking that we should have an effect on elections. No, you should, because when we vote for righteousness, then it goes well with us, right? If we vote the opposite way, or if we don't vote at all, you're still saying something, whether you vote or not. You're still saying something. Not voting is giving into things that then we wonder why where we're at, right? Because the last voting cycle, a lot of believers didn't vote. Like, just because you don't like a candidate, or if you don't like their character, doesn't mean that you don't vote, right? What are they putting out? And basically that's what they were trying to say about Trump, right? About his character, and you shouldn't vote for him because of this and this, because he says this and he wants to do this. The sad thing is, like I said, with social media and all these things, that you cannot, it's technology is so advanced now that it's harder for them to hide and harder for them to lie. And I really believe Trump got the election in 2016 because Periscope was just a platform that was out there. Like, he could just go live and so contradict everything that they're pushing out in the media. And so even wanting to, like, just all this rhetoric of, oh no, we need to not silence people's voices, but basically that's what they were saying, to silence people's voices, like people shouldn't be able to say whatever they want. No, that's why we have the Constitution, right? So you can say things without fear of retaliation, retribution. for what you say. So it's easy to say, oh no, we shouldn't say this, and people shouldn't, you should be policing your own self. Tell people what to say or not to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you should be policing your own self. You want people to see you as a good character, as a person that has good character, then display that, right? If you don't want people to see you have good character, then display that. You're just not gonna have friends, But you can't say one thing and do something else, right? So people will see you for who you are, but lying hasn't worked in that election, because Trump basically contradicted everything that they were saying. And so even in this cycle of elections, right, people are afraid of being silenced, right?
Mhm.
Free speech. I mean, you look at Steve Bannon, he got thrown in jail. I mean, just for whatever reason. I don't know the reason he got thrown in jail, except for
Contempt of Congress is the term.
right. So you got people who have different political views and being thrown in jail or being silenced. Or you look at Facebook and how they had silenced people, and Twitter before Elon Musk took over Twitter. They're basically silencing people. And just because you think that somebody else's voice should be silenced because you don't share the same opinion, doesn't mean that their voice should be silenced. Right? People have the right to say whatever they want. That's what free speech is all about. This is what this country was founded on, right? You can have your own ideas. You can actually think your own thoughts. Without,
Okay, so he was a 4-month sentence. I think I said 4 years before. It was a 4-month sentence, and he's 70 years old. So so he went to jail for defying a subpoena from a congressional committee that investigated the J6 attacks on the Capitol.
And so much contradiction. If you look at Hunter Biden and all his stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he defied a subpoena. You never see him thrown in jail.
Well, here's a crazy. Let's go back to 20s, whatever. I don't even know when it happened, but was it 33,000 emails that were deleted? See, when we say
Hillary Clinton,
yeah, but what year, right? Let me look it up. So when we say, when we talk about doing something wrong or being convicted or just doing evil, wrong things. Google Chrome is very hungry, very data hungry. Let me just try to close this out. So, Hillary Clinton's, I want to look it up.
Hillary.
Yeah, but my Google Chrome is just like really freezing. So, for example, Hillary Clinton's emails, we say, oh, she deleted 33,000 emails, ha ha ha, and they laugh about it, right? But if you look at the details on what actually happened, they didn't just click a button and delete emails. Like, Google, like I have probably 22,000 emails right now on Google, my Gmail. It's not just going in there and pushing a button. They actually got their computers and destroyed the computers, and they even used bleach. This is not a conspiracy theory. So, there's a lot of levels to when it comes to
whitewashing. They call it.
Is that?
I think they call it.
Is that what it's called? I don't even know.
Or yeah, I think that's what they call it.
Yeah,
scrubbing. Sorry, not whitewashing.
So they were literally scrubbing the
scrubbing it clean. That's a different term. It's not has to do with that, but basically erasing.
Yes, scrub
that it can't be found.
They use scrubbing in like espionage. That's like some espionage term, CIA stuff where they scrub.
So that's what they said that she did with her computers and stuff for emails, that she was scrubbing everything clean. I think she was the one that Benghazi happened. Was it her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was connected to her just because she was in that position of authority at the time.
So it'd be nice for, I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on, but that if you are corrupt, or if you do things in that manner, that not only would it be exposed, but that um that the law would be applied to both sides of the aisle, right? So that corruption would be lower. I would say there's no way that corruption will ever be completely destroyed until what we believe when Jesus comes, right? But
yeah,
the less chances of corruption happening. And I believe when they made the Constitution and all this stuff, they accounted for what we look for, what we're looking at now, because of what they came out of, to make it harder for corruption to happen. Um, Even looking at the way that they put the Constitution together, right? It took them a while to get it done, because not just that they all didn't agree, but when they came together, they agreed upon things that they didn't fully agree upon, but they knew it was beneficial in founding a country.
Well, the two most fundamental elements of getting started are their freedom to speak
Mm-hmm.
without retaliation, and the other one, the reason why Second Amendment was put in place, is to protect the first one. You cannot remove either one. You cannot adjust one without it affecting the other. So if you affect the freedom of speech, you better believe that the Second Amendment will come into effect, right? Because
Right.
yeah. Oh, okay. So Leanne said they use bleach bit. Okay.
Bleach bit.
So maybe maybe they didn't use Clorox, like I said. maybe it's a technical term. But and the other part of that, when the founding fathers, they knew that you got to protect speech, our freedom, our right to bear arms is to protect against any potential tyrannies, but also unreasonable searches and seizures. That was something that we were protected against as well. We talk about the squirrel. I think that falls under the category of unreasonable searches and seizures. It's like, what the heck? I don't know what to say about the squirrel. I know we were supposed to talk about it yesterday, but justice for Peanut. That's such a crazy story. And
what is Peanut? And who is Peanut?
the squirrel.
What?
Justice for Peanut. That's the squirrel that they came in and they beheaded the squirrel. They chopped its head off.
Who did?
Honey, are you? All the photos that I share with you, the squirrel that they
Oh.
Did you hear about the story where they? I'm gonna play the video. So did you hear about the story where they raided the guy's home?
No.
So I'm probably not accurate on the story, but basically they came to his home. I think they do animal rescues or something. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna butcher their story, but so they basically came in. The squirrel was a family pet. It was all over social media, and that's one of the downfalls of social media, is that everything of your life is documented. And if somebody doesn't like what you're doing, they'll just go and share it out. And next, you've got people having opinions about your life that maybe you don't want their opinions. So they came into their home, took the squirrel. They basically killed the squirrel in the name of whatever. I don't even know what the justification is, but let me just read it. I'll read it from our article. See, that's the first search term, Peanut the squirrel. Okay. So they euthanized. This is from USA Today. It was in New York. So let me just read some of it. Stop giving me these ads. You want to buy your subscription? No, I don't. So Peanut the squirrel was his pet for 7 years. There was a search and euthanize procedure. The animal was on social media. So Peanut the squirrel had almost 700,000 Instagram followers. The squirrel had 700,000 followers on Instagram. So they had to test it for rabies.
And what they said, the squirrel had rabies, so they euthanized it.
I guess. So the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, interesting, They confiscated Peanut from his home in Pine City, New York. The seizure occurred due to multiple reports from the public about the potentially unsafe housing of wildlife that could carry rabies and illegal keeping of wildlife as pets.
So if you read Leanne's
So there's a raccoon also. So it wasn't just a squirrel, a raccoon.
so she said that Tala wrote a good post about that. It's not really related.
Wait, who said that?
Leanne.
Oh,
She
yeah.
put up her
Yeah, it went viral. Tala got monetized because of that post. So congratulations to Tala who got monetized from that post. That post sent her through the top. So if anybody wants to get monetized on
there.
yeah, I put it up.
Squirrels aren't usually associated with rabies.
Yeah. I think raccoons are, right?
I think raccoons.
We don't
are.
have raccoons or squirrels in Hawaii, so we don't know. And we don't have possums either. A lot of people don't know that. So if
we
you
don't have much. We don't have snakes.
So here's what Hawaii does not have. We don't have snakes. We don't have raccoons. Okay, so
we don't have snakes. We don't have raccoons. We don't have lizards.
No, honey. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
No, listen, we don't have like those big lizards like Komodo dragons or all these weird kind of lizards. We have like chameleon lizards that are small. We have Jackson chameleons. We have
which Jackson chameleons are not native. Those are introduced.
But we have those small little lizards. That's about it. Like the chameleons or the geckos.
We have geckos, anoles.
Anoles.
We have the Madagascars, which those are introduced and those are invasive too. Those are the ones eating all of the native anoles, which has the bottleneck.
Yeah. Well, aren't anoles?
They were native. So the Madagascar is the bright green, the gecko lizard. I mean the gecko.
But what I'm saying is the anoles are not native to Hawaii either.
They were there from.
Okay, but
so my
what I'm saying is we don't have big lizards like
we don't have iguanas. Yeah, we don't have iguanas or monitor lizards
or Komodo dragons or all those.
Komodos are monitors.
Yeah.
So okay, so what were we talking about again? We don't have raccoon. My wife is like, okay, we don't have raccoons, possums. We don't have
porcupines. We don't have gophers. We don't have
badgers, beavers. We don't have migratory animals either. So that's part of the reason why we don't have any animals.
Bears.
We don't have bears. What else don't we have? We don't have mountain lions.
Yeah, mountain lions, cougars, tigers, whatever. Everything is just in the zoo.
Yeah, and
pandas.
Yeah,
whatever's. We don't have those. I don't
think anybody has pandas though. Did you say pandas?
Yeah, I meant koalas.
Nobody has pandas or koalas either.
Koalas or what do you call those? The sloths. We don't have. We have a very different.
It's a very protected ecosystem of wildlife, and Hawaii is very strict about it. Extremely strict. So
we have a lot of birds.
Yeah, but then they're slowly going down to. How did we get to animals? What were we talking about? Oh, the unreasonable search chasing squirrels. We were talking about chasing squirrels. Hello, oh brother, chasing the squirrels.
Because we were talking about Peanut.
Well, we're talking about unreasonable searches and seizures.
Yeah.
So I feel like we don't.
So what happened to that guy?
Well, so he had a. Let me just finish reading it. We talk about Peanut, but we don't talk about the raccoon, Fred. So poor Fred. Poor Fred doesn't get any press, but I guess Peanut had all the videos. So I guess here's the thing. I'm guessing the guy lived in a community of people that cared
about his animals.
Yeah. So
Okay, so you said unreasonable search and seizure.
That's right. That's what we're protected in the Constitution. Like that's part of our
Right. So what happened to this guy? Was that the case?
legally. It was justified according, if that's the terminology, which is multiple reports from the public about the potentially unsafe housing of wildlife that could carry rabies and illegal keeping of wildlife as pets.
So the people in his community wasn't happy.
Supposedly, I don't know how true that is. If you have a social media account, let's say, for example, because people are weird, right? Let's say you have a social media account with 300,000 followers. Let's use Tala for example. We can pick on Tala. Okay, so let's pick on Tala for a second. With that one singular post, Tala went viral and she became monetized because of the amount of impressions she got, right? And that's amazing because that's hard to do. Like Haley Welch, the vulgar girl who's the hawk, the hawk girl. And so people are weird in that they look at someone that gets monetized and maybe they didn't like the fact that this guy was getting all this exposure. I don't know. It could be where they just, okay, so they run an animal rescue, right? So that's the story. And the thing is, they were getting a lot of views on social media. And I'm pretty sure they had some kind of monetization. I'm sure. If not, they do now for sure. And some of this is big dollars. Like on Twitter, for example, there are people flashing their receipts just from getting monetized. Every month or every quarter, they get payouts of some. I've seen some for $7,000, some for $15,000.
Is it true?
The monetization is true.
No, I mean the amount that they're getting.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because I apply for the same thing. So
I don't know how that works, so that's what I was asking.
So part of the we use Twitter for example. Part of the monetization, there's multiple forms. You can get subscriptions. You can get what they call ad revenue sharing. So basically, when Twitter makes contracts with advertisers based upon viewership, supposedly, because nobody knows, because there's no transparent policy with Twitter to the public, but based upon money being taken from advertising, content creators get a percentage of that.
So what if somebody don't like you and they create a community of people that don't like you? Do you get demonetized?
I don't know what's in the terms of service, but I'm sure there's something written. So, as a general rule, let's use Twitter for example. As a general rule, you can do anything you want to do on X, as long as it's not illegal in the United States. For the most part, I'm sure there's some other, but I think Elon was very clear that he didn't want a platform that had its own set of rules outside of the Constitution or what's legal. That's why on Twitter there's some things that are very questionable based on other platforms, but at least X gives people the freedom to do so, right? The First Amendment, the freedom of speech.
Right, because if you take that away, then, like I was saying, that's what they were trying to do, right?
As long as it's not illegal.
Right, just because you don't like what people have to say doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the right to do that, right? People get so political. I wrote a post about that. People getting so political, that they're even attacking their own family. Like, who cares who you vote for? Like, I get you get your own opinion, but we have to remember that they're elected people. And politicians, sell you stuff that sometimes they don't even fulfill. I was watching Josh Green, and in my opinion, I cannot stand that man. Anyway, he had said some stuff, and I'm thinking, the first time around, I voted for him because, I liked what he had to say. I thought there were some good things that he would bring to the table for Hawaii. And he said a lot of good things, but he didn't deliver on those things. And if you look now, I think this is his second term running for second term of him being in as a governor. that he's so corrupted in what he's done. It just aggravates me. But he's the governor, so um I may not like everything that he has to say, but my job as a believer is still to pray for him, right? Not pray that God sends him to hell, but that God will give him some wise counsel that would sit around him to make wise and good decisions, for Hawaii. But like I said, politicians, they make statements and they say things and they don't always fulfill what they say, right? And they're only in office for what, 4 years, 2 years, and the seats are up or whatever, right? 6-year term. But your family is forever. And just because you disagree on politics doesn't mean that you should walk away from people, not talk to them, not spend holidays if you normally would spend like Thanksgiving or whatever with each other. Like, to me, that's the stupidest thing that you could ever do for your family. And that's a lie from a pit of hell, right? From that you should stay away from your family and not even talk to your family because you guys share difference of opinions. Like, if you share differences of opinions before, why would you allow this political thing to be a bigger voice now? Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, talk to your family.
I'll share this video to support what we're talking about. And this is all in good fun, family. And I think it connects the dots. But watch this video. I posted this last night. I just thought it was funny. But it's a good example of when we talk about the political divides between the left and the right.
Mm-hmm.
So watch this video.
Chewy! Chewy!
One more time. So
Chewy!
So I know. So for context, right, anybody watching this video, there was a guy filming Chewbacca. Chewbacca looks very authentic, by the way. He looks very authentic, and I guess it was at Disney or wherever, Disneyland. And if you hear the guy make fun of Chewbacca, the thing is, we should be able to have fun. Like yesterday was very fun for our kids. I have to say, people that get so worked up over politics and government.
Yeah.
I think that's a personal reflection of where they're at. And I just responded to Russell Brand. He said that, could this be a time of reconciliation for America? And I said, it has to be.
Yeah.
As believers, we have to extend that olive branch.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about political party, but as the body of Christ, we have to be willing to extend that olive branch. I kind of fret a little bit. I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but when I see believers jump on this, I'll just say it. I won't say who it was, but I seen comments like demo rats, being condescending.
Demon rats.
And then I seen one where it says, it's about time we got him in. Where are you Democrats now? And I'm thinking, we're the body of Christ. We can't be like,
or unfriend me now. I'm not with her, so you can just unfriend me. Like, who cares? Why do you gotta? As a believer, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, because as a believer, if you proclaim that you are a believer of Jesus Christ, that should not be your stance. That should not be something that comes out of your mouth. That should not be something that that you should say or even post. Like, if you don't believe in Kamala Harris, then whatever. If you don't believe in Donald Trump, then whatever. But don't be posting things like that brings controversy, because it'll make the body of Christ look bad. Like, I get that's your opinion, but at the end of the day, as believers, we need to take a neutral stance on things and not create a divide. Because if you read the Word of God and if you believe the Word of God is true, then that's not something that should be posted on your thing. Now, if you're speaking out against a policy or something like Roe v. Wade or abortion is one thing, but to attack somebody and then to attack a body of people by calling them demon rats, by creating controversy where you're attacking somebody, that shouldn't be your stance. Now, that's different than saying witches are evil. Completely different, right? But
well, calling somebody a witch too. You're a witch. But it also ruins not just your testimony, but the testimony of the other believers. And I will say to give you a soft landing, because I was pretty much to the point, but also be willing to apologize for, because I've said a lot of things, and I know that Chewbacca video, for me, I thought it was funny. I thought it was light. To me, I look at it, look, if that was me, if I was Chewbacca, or maybe if you're Chewbacca and what I'm saying is, to have it out of good fun, to be able to enjoy it, that's one thing, but to take it to a point, to the next level, I did appreciate what Nicole Shanahan said about, I want to offer an apology. And I thought that was powerful, right? On behalf of not just her party, but leadership. And so, yeah, I do cringe when the body of Christ makes statements like that publicly. And I think
that's what the word of God says, right? To make an effort to live in peace with each other, right? So, I mean, if that was your stance before, I would go through all my stuff and like take it down. I mean, there's stuff that I had to take down because I didn't have a good view of things. I mean, that's why the you work out your salvation with fear and trembling before the Lord. Some things you gotta apologize for, some things you gotta take down, some things you gotta move on from. Like I said, with that post that I had posted, it was in effect to my family, really, because I have some people who are very extreme in their views, and they've allowed some of this political thing to filter in into family and start calling family names and saying, oh, if you love so and so, then you're a commie. If you love so and so, then you should go back to wherever. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're from Hawaii. We're gonna go back to where? Like, you make no sense. So, sometimes you gotta turn off the TV and walk away. Like, don't allow this whole political rhetoric that has been spewed to affect you and your family in such a way that you turn away from each other. Because one of my, in my post and my comment, it said, you are electing these people to sit in these seats for 4 years, for 2 years, for 6 years, but your family is forever. Like, don't allow those things to wreak havoc in your life, where you turn away from your family that you've been with, forever. Like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I don't care if you're a believer or not a believer. Let's not do that. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. Like I said, when they formed the Constitution, they were a difference of opinions. It took them a while to put that Constitution together. If you haven't read about how the Constitution came together, then I strongly suggest that you go and look it up and read it for what it is. Like, don't just take people's words for it. Go and look it up what it is and how they founded the Constitution and where they came to this place of founding the Constitution. We may not agree on everything, but together we can work some things out, right? That's how there's a balance. There's a balance in that. I also have a lot of family who's very political, and I have family who's very extreme, and then I have family who's very political, and we don't agree. We don't agree on everything, and we're okay with that.
I want to take a minute just to greet our viewers. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, we got Leanne. Thank you, or she's not first time, but Leanne, also Halo1 on X. Of course, got my Google Sessions account. And those of you that are on YouTube, thank you for watching, and also on Twitch. I see you. Thank you. My software allows me to see who's with us today. So I just want to take a second to refresh. And this is not a commercial program by any means, but we're blessed to have partners and sponsors. So we're going to take a second just to share those with you guys, and we'll be back in about a minute. And if you haven't shared this out, please share this out. We'll greatly appreciate it. We'll be back in about a minute. Is it a minute? Yeah, we'll be back in a minute and 9 seconds. Aloha family, today's episode is brought to you by 5 and 7 Tactical Solutions. They are the premier team for tactical services and training. For those of you that are, you're passionate about protecting yourself, your loved ones, maybe your home, maybe your dog, or maybe your squirrel, well, learn from the professionals. They have gun courses, everything from pistol training to long guns. For those of you that want to learn on concealed carry combative courses, they have that as well. If you're a security guard, if you are in Hawaii and Arizona, they have the license courses available for you as well. For those of you that are not comfortable carrying a firearm, they do have self-defense from Women's Defense Tactics, electric gun taser training. They also have active shooter response courses as well for schools, businesses. And if you are a VIP, they do have executive protection services as well. 5 and 7 Tactical Solutions LLC.com. Be sure to mention GLO808 and they will give you $25 off of any services or package. Mahalo for your support. One of the things I will say I'm very blessed that we can do is have these conversations and just, especially doing this with you. For those of you that don't know me and my wife, we have a very dynamic relationship. If we joke about it, but like if we knew each other in high school, I don't know what that would look like.
Me either.
One of us would be in trouble.
I was already in trouble in high school.
I was a troublemaker. I've been suspended. Let me 1, 2, 3. So I've been suspended 4 times in high school for various things, all silly things. Not take it back 5. If I count 8th grade, that'll be 5. So I've done detention many times, but I've been officially suspended from school 5 times. If you ask, well, how did you get suspended 5 times and still? Well, I went to 5. That's how I was able to manage that. That's how gifted I was. So that's how. If anybody's trying to figure out how do you get your kids suspended from 5 different times, send them to 5 different schools.
Not talented to get suspended.
Yeah.
Me and my cousin Kaleo we always used to get kicked out of class all the time because we used to do all kinds of stuff.
I'm burying myself publicly, and I say this really to say how good God is.
Mm-hmm.
I was never, I'm glad I didn't turn out to be a criminal. Or I've never done drugs. I've never smoked weed, which is a miracle in itself. But, and I'm not saying that weed is a criminal offense in 2024, but from a personal perspective, no, I don't want it. I don't need it. But I've never done any of those things. Outside of being suspended, I was only arrested 1 time. And that was as a juvenile. And I thank God that all those things happened, because where I'm at now, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't walk through those seasons of my life as a kid, as a youngster. So, but God is good. I'm blessed.
I'm blessed. Not gonna say where I came from.
Some of you guys already know where she came from. Yeah.
But yeah, so
let me go and see what did we not cover yesterday. We can cover to
okay, wait, let me finish with that scripture that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So Hebrews 12, 14 and 15 says, make every effort to live in peace with all men, and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. And that post that I was talking about that I posted, number 1, because I was annoyed with the way my family believes, but number 2, I didn't post it because I was angry or bitter or said any of those things to offend them, but I said it so that they would open their eyes to see that, hey, maybe I should tone this down, or maybe I should apologize for saying this to so and so, just so to live peaceably, to understand maybe sometimes we don't always see through rose colored glasses.
Mhm.
Or maybe okay, maybe I'm too much. Like sometimes I sit down and go, you're too much. You're too much. And sometimes we got to apologize for being that way, but to make an effort to live peaceably with everybody, right? Make sure that bitterroot is not growing, in that place. So, with that being said, you know, to live peaceably, even during this time of transition where Trump is um, going to be the one in office now, right? That we're not listening to the whole political rhetoric, right? What I'm talking about with social media and how all these things are coming out, to make sure that we're level headed, that there's a balance, and that there's peace when we speak, in what we're writing, in the things that we say. Now, this is, when we're reading scriptures, yes, this is for believers, but even unbelievers can benefit from these things, to live righteously, to live a peaceable life, right? A holy life. And that believers would exemplify this, right? Just because Trump's now the president elect, what are we doing now? God has given us grace in these moments to behave well,
Mhm.
right? To ensure safety and justice for the people in the land, also for your neighbors, right? And your community, live in such a way that you bless your community, you bless people that lives around you, that when people see you, they understand that there's blessings there, right? I mean, even feeding the homeless, um I want to say one of the biggest blessings of feeding the homeless is sometimes you encounter people who are harsh, and part of that is because where they're at, and they may be bitter, but encountering you, and when you do this more, um when you feed them more and they see your face more, it breaks that hard shell, and they realize that people actually care about them, in the same way we, not just as a body of believers, but as people, to care for one another, right? And treat people with respect and love. We may not all agree on everything, but let's not let that not agreeing be the thing that keeps us apart.
Yep.
Go ahead, honey.
I'm looking. So before we started, I don't know if he was praying, but um, I think now I'm not gonna confess or speak into existence, but I do believe that there's going to be a lot of work to be done,
Mhm.
um, because I look at Trump as, and I've said this before, that I look at Trump as kind of like he's like the stepfather. That your mom marries. Your mom remarries. She marries a new guy. He's super successful. He's got his own plan. Your mom loves him, and it's like, but you don't care for him because he's bringing in all these rules and policies and laws into your household, and you're like, I don't want to do it, and it's like, um, I feel like sometimes as a nation, there's a lot of people that feel that way about him. Like, I don't want to change, or no, I don't agree with you. Then let me pause on my thoughts, and I just want to thank Halo One. Halo One says, thank you. Hope you and your wife have a wonderful, blessed day. Last night, President Trump was a blessing for all. Number 47. I have to get back to the office. Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so, but I think it's a long road. But what I want to pray for is that if Trump does what he said he would do back in 2015 when he said it to his family. He says, in order for me to do my job effectively as president, there's going to be a lot of cleaning up that we have to do. And there's a lot of things that are being exposed that I feel like, and I don't want to just say the left or because there's a lot of people on the right that are connected to the same machine, but they don't want to be exposed. And I'm going to pray for, obviously, for repentance. I want to pray for, because there cannot be reconciliation. There cannot be healing if there's no repentance. Because if there's no repentance, then they'll just continue. They're just going to continue to scheme for the next 4 years.
Well, and there has to be a repentance where there be a turning away. That's what repentance means. It's to do a 180 and walk the opposite way, right? So it's not just in speech, but in doing as well.
So Leanne said, I hope President Trump can change some minds with his success. I think with his team that we saw last night, I don't agree with everybody on his team, and I'm sure that there's obviously a lot more that they're going to. Last time was just a snapshot of his family, but I'm not ready to share some of my thoughts and what God put in my heart and what He showed me in regards to his team that he has now. But I will say, if there is anything that the enemy is scheming, even within his own team, that is exposed immediately. I think what we learned from his first presidency was that there was a lot of, I want to encourage the body of Christ that when we look at the first term, the first president, his first presidency, it wasn't just that he fired a bunch of people and a bunch of people couldn't work with him. I truly believe that if you are someone that you have an agenda and it doesn't click with your leadership, at some point something's going to have to happen. You're going to have to get fired, or it's going to be messy.
Well, I liken it like this, like how I did last night with business, right? When you acquire a business, there's a change in regime, so to speak. It's not even a regime, but it's a change in positions, and how, if you're the owner of the business, you acquire a business, right? Meaning that you're buying out a business, and now you are the owner, and you want to change things to be tailored to the way that you want to run the business, right? And so if you've acquired a business who has been corrupted by so many things, you acquire the business and you get rid of the leadership, or, well, basically the leadership and the people underneath that helped carry out this stuff, whether it was righteous or not, right? Because you're shifting things in. So what you don't want to do in a business is, I don't want to have to retrain somebody else, maybe, possibly, if they're willing, right? A lot of the times it's the mindset, it's the way that they ran things, that you change out the top part of the people in your leadership team and you put in people that will carry out your business, right? So when you're looking at human resources and the way that you structured your business, you want your human resources and you want them to write policies that aligns with the vision of your company. Right? Because now you're taking over and you're setting different things in place, because what you want is your business to thrive and move in another direction, right? From where it's at. In the same way, when you have a presidency and you're a new president in office, you want the policies and you want the people that are going to be for you or coincide, and you don't want to have to buck heads all the time with the same people because they don't want to see the vision. Or if they can't see the vision that you have, right? So it doesn't make sense to put somebody in place that is against every single thing that you're trying to bring forth.
That's what he talked about in the last podcast with Joe Rogan, was that he trusted the people he put in place, but he's very clear. He said, I trusted them. I just didn't know them. And that is very important and very true with that. And not everybody worked out. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them didn't work out. And it's not that maybe they're good people, maybe they're not. I'm sure a lot of them are not good people. But one thing was clear is that they did not fall into line, or they didn't have the same vision as the president. And I think this time around, now he understands, okay, I know who I can work with now. And I know who I can bring in. I am curious to see how he can bring in Elon Musk. Elon Musk had an interesting point, I think it was 2 days ago, where he said that so we're talking about cleaning up, right? You bringing in a new staff, for example. I think it's libertarians that believe that we don't need that. We just need like maybe four basic functions of a government. The first and primary is to protect, right? All these other, I think, I'm kind of conflicted because I don't know if it's 2,000 or it's 400. But I want to say there's 2,000. I'm going to go into the last, but there's 2,000 agencies just in the federal government. So even at the lowest number, even if there's 400, let's just say there's 1,000 agencies. That's a lot.
Yeah.
In our so one thing Elon said was, just from day one, go ahead and start not see the Trump will say fire. And although that's true, that's probably what's happening. But Elon used the term, well, let's just offer them a severance, a very hefty severance, like maybe 2 years of severance. So it gives them time to, and I found that, I think it's the 2 years, at least a year severance, a year's worth of severance. So it gives them an opportunity, and it's fair to them. And then I think Joe Rogan said, well, what about those that have been building for 20 plus years? Or that's
same thing.
But I don't believe that. So out of those, let's say 1,000 agencies, I'm sure there's quite a few of them that are it's overweight, if that's the right word. Like it's unnecessary.
Unnecessary. The same thing with business. It's the same thing. You get rid of, if you're acquiring something, or if your business is not bringing in revenue, and if you're losing money, then you begin to filter through what your business structure is, and you filter out the things that you may not need at the moment, and you bring those things down, so that you stay within budget, and that you can bring revenue, or hit where your break even point would be, that you can acquire that in a certain amount of time.
I think I'm trying to remember what he said. So I think in the area of severance, what the opportunity gives also is, let's say a lot of those people that are given severance pay, they eliminate the positions. Elon said they can get another job if they want, so they can get double pay.
Well, it gives nobody any right to say anything against you.
But just think about it. If I know I'm going to get, let's say some of these positions, they pay $10,000 a month. That's their severance. Well, they can go and go work and get another job, and they can enjoy doing that job, knowing that they're going to get income no matter what they do, and maybe pick up a new skill.
Well, you're setting them up for success too, right? You're not just eliminating the position and saying, "Hey, we're gonna lay you off," right? But it gives them time, and and they don't have to stress out about what's this next 6 months or next year is gonna look like. But you have enough to take care of you in that amount of time, and you don't have to like rush to go and get a job, but actually get a job that you can grow in,
or start a business.
And I mean, if you have 20 years experience, I'm sure that maybe
is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
So, hey, we have these headphones on. I hear everything. I hear backfire.
That's my stomach.
We're gonna pick on ourselves for a second. Hey, let's be on, and we're gonna chase this squirrel. One time, I did a live. Was it a live? And I could hear my stomach was like, I was like, what the heck? I could hear it in my headphones, but you guys couldn't hear it if you're on your cell phone. But when I went back and watched the replay, I could hear it. I'm like, oh, honey, listen to this. My stomach was like, like, what the heck? So, anyways, the Department of Government Efficiency. If that's what Elon does, I don't know how he's going to do it, because he's the CEO of Tesla, or I don't know what position. So he's the owner of Tesla. He runs SpaceX. He's not the CEO of Twitter, but he owns Twitter. He's probably going to have to hire a CEO to run all the other companies.
Well, if you get, you hire good people to take those positions, right? Not just that they're qualified, but then you still oversee. And if you're overseeing, you're not in the day-to-day things, so that he can work on the other things.
Or I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a political science major, but would he be allowed to still technically be the owner of those companies and work in DC?
If he's not running the business.
I guess so.
Because doesn't Trump own his businesses? He's not running it. Somebody else is.
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I do know that he's obviously not running them when he's as president, but is he the owner, or did he transfer ownership as well?
I don't think you have the right to tell somebody that they can't own the business that they owned before. Now, there's a difference between owning the business and running the business. Right. If you have somebody else in place to run the business, that's different.
Hey, Google, if you are a federal employee like a president or in the cabinet, are you allowed to own?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Google. Hey, Google, as the president of the United States, are you allowed to own a company?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So I'm just going to go, yeah, you can. But I know you can't. You obviously can't operate. You can't be running a company and president at the same time, just for obvious reasons. But
Right. Because you shouldn't, you can't have your hands dipping in there. So if you're the owner of the business and you can own the business, but you don't have the right. No, I'm saying don't.
I know what you're trying to say, but
Yeah.
you can't be. Well, let's just do this.
You're not the one who's making the final decision.
Yeah, well, let's state the obvious. Like, you obviously can't be working as a CEO and being president at the same time. Somebody's going to suffer. That's the obvious.
I was gonna say it's too hard to. Yeah.
Now, the other shady part is, which is what Congress does, are lawmakers. A lot of them are investors, right? Invest in the stock market. They should not be allowed to invest in the stock market when they're actively in government, especially when the policies that they write affects the stock market.
And I don't believe that, I get the 6-year term. I think Congress is 6-year terms, but there's no where you can't run again.
It's unlimited. They have
so
it's every 2 years, I think.
So if you look at like Joe Biden being 50 years in that thing, I think there should be
term limits
because it will help with the whole corruption level of how all these people are sitting in these positions and making all these,
I'm sorry, a Senate is 6 years.
So I know there's 6, 4, and 2. I can't remember which is which because I was in student council, so this is some of the stuff that we studied. And one of them, there's no term limits, but I think there should be term limits now only because of the corruption, right? And to act rightly.
Excuse me.
Like I said, Joe Biden has been in politics. He's been sitting in these positions for 50. You look at Mazie Hirono, she's another one that's been in there. You look at the I was gonna say the Akakas, but you got Dana Kaka and Danny Inouye in Hawaii, who sat in those positions for such a long time.
I think either Dan Inouye, Dan Inouye, and then Strom Thurmond in South Carolina. I think they're the 2 longest running in history. I'll fact check myself.
Could have been Dana Kaka too.
No, Dan Inouye he's longer than that. How long?
So I think they should give room for other people to be in those positions, to bring new ideas, to bring something fresh and new in there that would benefit the country, versus benefiting themselves in their pocketbook and whatever else, like there are younger people that could sit in those positions, but They just don't want to let go of those seats. And that's why I believe there should be term limits to, some of these things. And, if you got a corrupt person in there, you don't want them consistently sitting in there, right?
Yeah.
And that goes to show, look at our government for the last 4 years. You cannot say there's no people that has been corrupted in this place. I mean, they keep trying to sell us something that keeps saying that, oh no, there's no inflation, no, prices haven't gone up, but that's not what my store says.
49 years.
That's crazy. You see how
that's Hawaii. Hawaii has a long one of the longest.
That's crazy. That's why I believe, you're not called to sit there for 49, 50 years, 60 years in these positions. Give up your seat and allow somebody else in there. Like, some of these seats, they're full of great people. They are.
So Strom Thurmond in South Carolina was 48 years.
It's crazy.
Now they're from that old fabric, right? So both military. I think Strom Thurmond was military. I'm not sure if Strom Thurmond, but Dan Inouye was definitely military. But I think let me double check Dan Inouye. How do I say Dan
Inouye?
What language? What was he?
Japanese.
That's why I can't say it.
Inouye.
You're not Japanese.
Like ensign Inouye.
Ensign. Okay, so I can say that Ensign Inouye. You're not Japanese. Okay. What am I looking for again?
Japanese Hawaiian, I think he is. I know Dan Akaka was.
Akaka was on a Big Island. That I remember.
I think he fought for 42nd. Go for broke.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
You gotta explain that to people that don't. You gotta explain go for broke for people that don't know.
It was when the Japanese bombed Hawaii, they put the Japanese people in internment camps. And so one of the places they put people in internment camps is where I lived in Manoa. In Manoa, there's one way in and one way out. There's actually 2 roads, but you can it's easy to cut off or whatever. Anyway, that was actually one place where they and it's a valley, so in 2 different areas there's only one way in, one way out, one from the bottom side of Manoa and one from the top side of Manoa. And because they didn't know, I guess, who was the enemy, there were Japanese people that were already living in Hawaii, and there are a lot of them that joined, and so they called it the 42nd Go for Broke. They joined the military to help fight against the war, in the war, and that was the 442nd. 442nd. They call it the 442nd Infantry.
So that's what go for broke means.
Yeah. Or in Hawaii, that was
go for broke.
That's what they call them, the go for broke.
Does anybody use that term besides Hawaii?
I don't think so. That's a Pidgin term. So if you don't know what Pidgin is, people say, "Oh yeah, Pidgin is a separate language." Pidgin is a different language. Like it's broken English, basically, of what we call it. And so to explain what Pidgin is, half of my family is from Hawaii, and I have a lot of Polynesian descent. And then the other half of my family is Puerto Rican. And so that part of my family, they came over from Puerto Rico.
Can we pause you for a second? This is, honey, I want to, what you said.
Go ahead.
Honey.
I don't want to lose my train of thought.
No, never mind. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but this is powerful what you said. This is exactly what you said. I Googled it. The phrase go for broke originated as a gambling term in Hawaii from the 1940s, and it was used to describe risking everything for a big win, and it was adopted as the model of what you said, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. It was a segregated war WW2 unit made up of Japanese Americans. The go for broke meant putting everything on the line to fight against the Germans in Europe and against. I fact checked my own wife family.
I know what I'm talking about.
No, I know you know what you're talking about, but I didn't know what you were talking about. I wanted to look it up. I was like, wow.
I only know that because my dad was in the military, and this was some of the conversations. It wasn't just my dad; like my family's in the military.
I actually learned something today. Honey. Thank you. I mean, I know we've used it before, but I never looked it up and like the actual.
Anyway, getting back to pigeon, right? So my family came over to work the plantation fields. That's part of my family that came over from Puerto Rico to work the plantation fields. But it wasn't just Puerto Rico. You have different places, and so I used to take care of a Japanese lady and a Japanese man, and when I did home care, and she was telling me because she lived in one of the plantation plantation in Waipahu, but my nana them also lived in plantation in they call it banana camp. No, banana camp is Eva. So I have friends whose family actually grew up in they call it banana camp, and that was in Eva, and that was plantation fields. Not plantation fields, but plantation workers, and that's where they lived. And my nana and them grew up in Kalihi Valley, where they had another, place of plantation. Well, when they came over, they all didn't speak English. They all spoke their own language, but they all had to live together in this plantation, and so they were learning to speak English, obviously, because English was a language of the land, but they would speak what they call broken English, which is pidgin. And so they learned how to communicate with each other. And so when I was talking to this old Japanese lady, she was telling me that she grew up on a plantation. I don't know what they called it. I want to say it's not a plantation field, but anyway, she grew up on because the plantations weren't where they lived, but they would send out the plantation crews on trucks, and they would ride in a truck together, and then they would go out to the plantation fields and then bring them back to this encampments where they live together, right? You got Japanese on one side, you got Portuguese on another side, you got what do you call it? You got Puerto Ricans on one side, and you got the Chinese, right? And so they all spoke different languages, and this is very powerful. If you ask me, they came together, and they had to learn how to communicate, and this is where the pidgin language came out, because they learned how to communicate together. They learned how to live together. So in Hawaii, we always say that Hawaii is a melting pot, and very diverse, because we all had to learn how to live together in harmony together. So communication as well. So her mom used to wash and starch their clothes, I guess, for work, because she was young. And so I'm sure it wasn't just her mom, it's other ladies that grew up there. Some of them worked doing laundry and all these things, but they shared, like the fudo. It's this big, if you go look up what fudo is.
It's a Japanese bath.
The big Japanese bath. Same thing, they all had to, the men would, and the women would have separate fudo or whatever in taking a bath and stuff like that. And so that's how the Pidgin language really came about is them coming together and learning how to
English together.
and learning how to speak to one another so that they could communicate.
I got a fun one to add to that. Had to look it up. So part of them learning English together was eating food together, right?
Mhm.
Manapua is. I had to look. I kind of knew. I just couldn't remember because when we do those tours, they tell you. So Manapua, if you've never had a Manapua, let me go through a history lesson with you guys. So Manapua, if you've ever been to Hawaii and you've eaten it's a big bun. It should be big, about that big, and inside there's this. It's called char siu. There's so many jokes behind this, but I'm not gonna say the jokes. And for those of you that are familiar with Chinese food, they have one which is called Lin Bao, Su Bao, something Bao.
Char siu bao.
Char siu bao. Okay. So in Chinese, they call it char siu bao, which is a lot smaller because in Chinese, they would make these dim sum in different containers. So it was always traditionally smaller. But in Hawaii, because when they came together, they would eat together, they would cook together. And so a lot of the meals would be on a heftier side. So when you had the Hawaiian culture mixed with all these different cultures, they came up with their own version of this char siu bao. And the word is called manapua. And there's a loose translation, and my native Hawaiians can fact check me on the Olelo Hawaii, as we say. It originates from Meo Ono Pua'a or Pua'a. Pua'a. Okay, so which it loosely translates as pork cake.
Okay, that's
so because the other cultures didn't speak native Hawaiian, they kind of roughly came together and agreed that it's manapua. That's how they're able to communicate with each other. So the manapua, and now it's like it's a huge. That's one of the things when you come to Hawaii. Oh, there's Larry. Hey, Larry. So once you had a Larry, honey, Larry's here. You see me out. That's so funny. That's that's why we was like, okay, there's a lot of jokes. Yeah. So that's one of the jokes is that people would say it's cat meat, but that's only for Cantonese. If you Cantonese, it's cat meat. If you, yeah, that's funny. You want the camera on mute?
Yeah.
Okay, let me take you off, and you are muted. We're gonna land a plane, fam. We went overtime, and it's okay because I got some work to do. So, but I will say that I don't know how we got talking about Manapua because I think I'm hungry. I'm hungry. We're talking about pidgin. So the pidgin is such a beautiful language. I have a hard time not speaking pidgin in my home, but as soon as I get out and we're with we say Haole people or Caucasian people, it's hard to speak pidgin because you have to keep repeating yourself. And so, but when I come together with some local brothers, I'm like, I get so excited that the pidgin comes out, and so what were we talking about again? I forget.
It makes me think.
I forgot what we was talking about.
We're talking about pidgin.
No, but before that, what were we talking about? Did I interrupt you? 442nd, go for broke. That's what we was really talking about.
Which is 442nd, the go for broke. Actually, Larry can the kind.
Oh, his family. Yeah, Larry's military, so he knows the. But that was a powerful. I love that when I fact check my wife and like, wow, my wife, she get them to the detail.
I told you, I know. Why not? Ask me about Hawaii.
It's not a frivolous conversation, bro. This is legit for real.
But all of my family that served, they were very proud to serve. Even my dad,
I wish I met him.
He was proud to serve his country. When my dad served, he served to take the place of my uncle because my nana was a single parent. My grandpa died. But my oldest uncle was supposed to go, and he took his place. And here's my uncle, explaining this to us. He actually took my uncle's place, and my uncle got married and he had 3 little kids. And so my dad was single at the time, and he didn't want my uncle to go to war. Um, because not only was him the provider for my auntie and my cousins, but that my nana was a single mom, and my uncle always took, he always took care of my grandma as well. So my dad volunteered in his place to take his place, because he felt like it would be more beneficial for him to go because he's single versus my uncle to go, and then they lose everything in the family. But not only my dad served, my other uncles served too, and just listening to them talk.
Uncle Larry, right?
My uncle Larry, my uncle Kenneth, they all served in the military.
Oh yeah, Uncle Kenneth. I'm sorry, that's what I was thinking. Uncle Kenneth is a tall, skinny with glasses.
They both tall, skinny with glasses.
Which is the one in Kailua?
That's my uncle Larry.
Yeah.
My uncle Kenneth is Dylan's grandpa. Gabriel,
okay.
that's his grandpa.
Say it again.
Dylan's grandpa.
Dylan. So you guys want to? Hey, Sarah, good to see you. So there's a joke in Hawaii when we connect with a famous person or a famous athlete. Hey, that's my cousin. That's like everybody was saying Tua's
my cousin.
Tua's my cousin. Tua Tagovailoa. He's my cousin. Let me tell you something, family. Go ahead and say the quarterback.
Dylan?
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel.
That's my wife's legit. Is it nephew?
Yeah, he would be my second cousin because Garrett's my first cousin.
So your dad and
Garrett's mom, brother sister.
So that's legit. Okay, so
his grandpa is actually my godfather.
Now I know Gabriel is kind of on the smaller side in terms of NFL prospect, but he's a Heisman runner.
Mm-hmm. I watch him, and I'm like, wow, it's just like he's like a different version of his dad.
So my feeling of him, I do remember him, the Gabriel. Yeah, I do remember, but I even because I was on the outside, I didn't feel like I was part of the family. I mean, I know I was with you, but there was such a unique dynamic to that your side of the family on that side. Like everybody took care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but then even with them, is it Tweety? They were all just on a.
We grew up together, so it's not like.
But like the way she treated me was like Miss Auntie Aloha. Like she was always gracious to me.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't even know me, but I think she knew that if you vetted for me, then right? Yeah. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they treat you in high regard because we always did that for family, but we always supported each other. Like, I mean, we went to every game that Garrett had at home, and that meant sitting in the parking lot on the outside of the parking lot waiting for them to open the gates for us to get in. Now that meant sitting in a hot car, sitting outside at the stadium, just waiting for the gates to open. Right. And we had a specific area of where we would go to, or we would try to go to. Like, I mean, there's like, you got 10, 15 cars all lined up, and we're all family. And that was just to get in, right? Then you tailgate on the outside while you're waiting for the gates for the inside to open up to go and watch the game. So those were not always the funnest time sitting outside, but when you got to the game home, those games were amazing.
So I put him up on screen. I put up Dylan on screen. Can you see him?
He almost looked like Garrett too, but you can see Dory, sort of.
So for those of you that don't know, that's my wife's legit family. You can see the resemblance. There's a resemblance. Would you agree? I think so.
That's the Puerto Rican.
That's the Puerto Rican.
Amazing though to watch him, and I can imagine how much of a blessing it was for Garrett to train him as well. Because my dad also coached Garrett when he was younger. Because my dad coached both baseball and football. right? And so he coached my brother, he coached my cousins. They all kind of played together. It wasn't just I got a whole bunch of cousins that played together, and my dad was one of the coaches. My uncles were coaches as well, and it was just really cool because you got all family sticking together and um supporting one another. And even now again, Dylan plays, it's just so amazing. I watch my feed on Facebook, and man, it's just and having
Now,
conversations with my cousins, like, you remember when this, and you don't remember. It's just
now they moved to Texas. Is that the one? Who moved to Texas when we were still in Hawaii? Or
no, Garrett didn't. Garrett still
which of
lives
your cousins moved to Texas?
to which one?
I don't
No.
know. One of the Gabriels.
Oh, that's Babes. She lives in Texas.
Okay,
She
but
lives in
that Babes and Tweety
sisters.
sisters. Yeah. So where did Dylan them?
Okay, so Dylan was. I didn't know he moved to Oregon because when all this stuff happened, I think he was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he was a quarterback for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then he transferred to. He was first at UCF, then Oklahoma, and then here.
Right. As his mom went to UCF.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. She went to California. She was just in because Garrett and Dory was together for a long time. I think I don't know if she went. No, it can't be the same high school because Garrett went to I don't know. But anyway, so I thought he was still in Oklahoma. And then I was talking to my brother, and he said, "Hey, you should go talk to Garrett." Da, da, da. He said, "Cause Dylan is in." I was like, "What?" So every time they play out in Colorado or whatever, my brother and my uncle they all would go and watch him play. It's just amazing that family would come together and just support one another. It's always amazing. It was nice to see. I just saw he was on the news. Garrett was on the news, and he was talking about Dylan. It was just
I remember watching it, and I was pretty
awesome.
Powerful. Yeah, we're so proud of
awesome.
So proud of the Puerto Rican side of the family.
Just proud of your whole family.
Your
Period.
family.
Yeah.
But
we always grew up because we grew up, together like that, and we always did Thanksgiving. Actually, one of my cousins had posted something up about Thanksgiving. That was my favorite memory of Thanksgiving, and it was my great grandma, who we called Grandma Kailua because she lived in Kailua. That it would be generations upon generations coming together, and even though there's like little space of fitting together, you got to walk sideways to go get your food, and then kids would eat outside, the parents would be in the house, and then there would be music or whatever, and we would all be playing outside. There's always my favorite memories of Thanksgiving. You got generations and generations. You got my great grandparents, then you got my grandparents, and then you got their kids, and then their kids, and it's just a lot of family just would come together, and it's just so, I love it. Anyway, because if you look at all my cousins' timeline, you can see all the family cheering him on, and just so excited because all of us walked with Garrett when he was playing, in UH, and everybody was just so proud of where he was at and the accomplishments he made, and watching Dylan now is just so
exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome to see generational things pass on. Now, even my uncle Kenneth, he was a very good athlete as well. They all pretty much played sports except for Babes and Sugar. Sugar was I think Babes and Sugar were cheerleaders.
If Dylan gets invited to the White House, they better invite us. Just saying.
That's funny.
That would be cool if he. It'd be cool if he gets the.
Our family is so big. I don't know about that. It would be good if my uncles went. Because
we'd be proud either way.
I have very few uncles left, so that would
be special.
My Uncle James would be happy, and my Uncle Larry, and that would be such a blessing for my Uncle Kenneth. He was always my favorite uncle, but I'm biased because he was my My godfather and my
That's when we went to the hospital. He had the brain
Yeah.
surgery.
Mhm.
Uncle Ken, yeah, like he's still alive.
Yep.
Still fighting.
Yep.
We gotta end because
Awesome.
I'm getting emotional just thinking about home and it's Thanksgiving and I'm actually crying inside. I'm crying visually, but
We can
oh
see family on Thanksgiving, so that's
yeah.
it's always family is important, people. Family is important. Don't buy into this stuff of separation. Family
Who
is
cares about politics?
Yeah. Family is important. Stick together, no matter what, even though they drive you crazy,
Jamaica
may
me
drive
crazy.
you insane. But family is forever. We're never meant to do life alone,
Yeah.
Stick together. I was talking about my cousin Khalil. Yeah, and still bothers me till today, just being out of touch. We used to make trouble all the time, but he committed suicide recently, and that was just a hard thing for me.
Sucks.
Yeah. Check on your loved ones.
Text them, call them.
Yep. Stay close. Politics is not important. Family is.
Yeah.
Love on your family. Hold them tight, regardless if they drive you insane.
Loving your husband.
Uh-huh.
Tell him how much you love him.
I love my husband. I would tell him how much I love him. I don't know if it's reciprocated. Just kidding.
It is,
That's
bro.
what you get for picking on me. But don't ever let politics get in the way. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us.
Yeah.
Keep an open line and keep an open heart. That's all I gotta say. Here, I'll leave with this. Hebrews 13, verse 1. Keep on loving each other as brothers. Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by doing so, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember those in prison as if you were their fellow prisoners, and those who are mistreated as if you yourselves were suffering. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure. For God will judge the adulterer and the sexual immoral. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. Because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Love one another. Let God be your helper. Even when you feel that you're alone, He will never forsake you or leave you. You call out to Him, He will show up. That's all.
Thank you, family. Obviously, X, you guys are my most engagement. YouTube, Twitch, Kick and Rumble. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We thank you for investing your time, whether you're live or replay. We do appreciate every minute. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace. Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. My name is Brother Greg. This is my wife, Emily. We love you guys. As we always say, thank you for your time, your heart, your data, all that good stuff. And most importantly, thank you for your time above everything else. Until tomorrow morning, we're live every day, 5 days a week, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 a.m. Hawaii time, 12 p.m. Eastern. I forget the other time zones, but you can figure it out. We love you guys. God bless you guys. Hui ho. Aloha and mahalo. Yes, sir. Jehu.
To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it, the odds can stack back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand firm.